one thing calling your first game and really called an offense before. And it was very nerve-wracking. Believe me, I could not sleep tonight. I could not sleep last night. I'll probably sleep a lot better tonight, but
it all came down conditioning and toughness, and you see how it happens. Just keep running the ball 24/7. Just keep going at it 24/7. Keep running that ball. Nothing new in Ansonia. Same thing. Keep on continuing that legacy.
We have high expectations. We preach that we're built for this moment, and we've been preparing for these guys since that tough day on Strong Field last December. This moment was our moment, and our boys rose up to it.
We just finally got it done, and like we always say, it was barbecue chicken.
Barbecue chicken from there. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Meat Grinder, your weekly dose of high school football in Connecticut. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Bowley. With me, as always, is Pete Paguaga. Petey, how are you?
Good. You're going to have to explain to me this barbecue chicken thing, because I have no idea what that means.
Nor would you. We'll get to that. Okay. We got a lot to cover here on the Meat Grinder. We're trying to do a lot of new things here, so you're going to bear with us. But we have a lot to cover. We had the first full week of the high school football season, and at the top of the show, you saw a couple of the biggies. First, obviously, was the headliner game on Thursday. Ansonia Bloomfield won by Ansonia 23-14 in John Mahalko's first foray as head coach. You heard a little bit from him, and you heard from Red Romanowski saying the names have changed, but the tradition will always continue here. And then similarly, we bookend it with the last big game of the Alliance, which was Hands 30-28 comeback victory over number 4 St. Joseph in an anticipated game over at Dalling Field. And, and there was a lot of stuff that happened in between those days. That was Saturday, and obviously, just a great walk-off win by a Hand. If you want to know what barbecue chicken means, you're going to have to wait for our Hand highlights in a little bit. But, Pete, what can you say? First week of football in the books. I'm just going to tell you real quick that I am exhausted. I'm starting to feel my age a little bit. I got up Thursday morning after going to that Ansonia game, and I was aching. I was in big trouble. I don't know about you, man. I don't know how I got through the next 2 days.
I mean, I'll be honest. I slept in today because it was just really long weekend. I started feeling cramps all over the place. I just started cramping up when I was walking around on the weekend. Oh, no, that was just basically every team I saw this weekend. Yes. So many cramps, guys. Drink your water. I cannot stress how important water is. And John Acquavita said it perfectly to his team after the game. He was happy they won. But he's like, guys, we talked about it. Drink water. So I have my water, and I'm going to remain crampless during this show.
Very good. But before we get started, a little programming note. Please like and subscribe to the GametimeCT YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram, where we have a ton of videos from these game nights, stuff that probably won't even make the podcast often. And of course, go to GametimeCT.com for all our stories, weekly poll, and everything else you need to know about high school sports. We also have TikTok. We have all this stuff. So make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Please tell us how we're doing. If there's things that we don't do anymore, you want to see, or we don't do, and you want to see, and all that stuff. Make sure you let us know what's going on, or give us your thoughts on the top 10 teams or your favorite team. See what we missed. I think there's a lot of stuff we're gonna miss. Anyway, but one more thing before we begin. Just a quick note of condolences to the family of Tim Jensen, who Tim was a reporter for Patch, or editor for Patch. He died at his home Friday, September 12th in Enfield. He covered Connecticut sports for over 40 years and started his career at the Enfield Press and was most recently, obviously, at Patch. And he was also the president of the Connecticut Sports Media Alliance, and not to mention a loyal poll voter. So if you see one less poll in there, pour one out for Jim, who was a really nice guy. And, even though he had some medical issues and kind of hobbled around a lot in the last few years, he, was still a great guy, and we're going to miss him a lot. So he was only 59 years old, which is, oh my goodness, that's really young. So our deepest sympathies to the Jensen family. We're gonna miss Tim. Anyway, so Via con Dios, sir, and Pete. Lots of stuff going on, but we put out our top performers, and it's a work in progress. We're still trying to get it together. And all I know is I got just a ton of DMs on Instagram. I got emails. You're getting them. I'm getting them. And it's guys, what about my player? What about my player? My guy wasn't in there. What the heck is that guy doing in there? What about me? And what about me? And the answer to that is, guys.
What about Bob?
Yeah, the answer to that, guys. Well, Pete, I'll let you explain it. You're the master of ceremonies in this regard.
We can't be everywhere. Okay, flat out, we can't be anywhere. Shaw went to 4 games this week. I went to 2. Our guys go to 2 or 3 games a week. There's 80 games a week or 70-something games a week. We can't be everywhere. And if you're not going to send in your box scores, then we don't know what's going on, right? So send in your box scores, info@GametimeCT.com. If you need the email, reach out to me. I'll send it to you. For those who sent it to our Gmail account, I've reached out to you, so please check it. I gave you that new email. Please let us, if we can't be there and there's a great game, tell us about it so we can highlight it in some form or fashion. But, I hate when they're like, where's my guy? And it's like, we didn't know what happened. We can't be everywhere. It's really hard. And we do really try our best, but it's week 1. Everyone's shaking off the rust across the board. Obviously, sending in box scores is one of those things. So please send your box scores in, info@GametimeCT.com. Pretty please, I beg of you.
Yeah. We need you guys to do that. We can't, it's like, I know it feels like we're everywhere, but we can't. We're just not everywhere. And, I only saw 4 games this weekend. There was a ton of Alliance games, just a mess of stuff. Yeah. And there's so many games I wanted to go. I wish I could clone myself. But unless you guys give us the information, preferably on game night, if you want to wait till Saturday, fine, I suppose, or even Sunday, as long as you get that into us, the earlier the better. The more likelihood that it's going to be seen and recorded. So, like I said, there's a lot of stuff on our end that we're still trying to figure out, but you can do your part by sending your stuff into our game.
Say something.
Yeah. info@GametimeCT.com. So that is that. So yeah, if you need to get your stuff in, please do. So there you go. Pete, it was a busy week. The first Alliance games, and I don't know, we're just going to go to the top 2 that we saw this week. Obviously, I went to see Hand versus St. Joseph at Dalling Field on Saturday. That was the last one, the barbecue chicken game. I'll get to that in a second, but here's what happened down at Dalling Field Saturday. It was week 1's last big one at Dalling Field on the campus of St. Joseph, where the number 4 Hogs welcomed, a generous use of the term, Hand in a rematch of last year's contentious Class M semifinal game at the Surf Club, won by St. Joseph on the way to the state championship. With Hand now moving down to Class SS, no chance of another rematch in December, so this was the one and only chance for Hand's returning players to get a little payback before focusing on winning a second title in 4 years. Good crowd on hand, of course, with both student sections out in force. This was indeed a good one. St. Joseph bolts out to the early lead when H.T. Jones throws a rope to All-State receiver Jake Rios for the 24-yard touchdown. Hand's got a new starting quarterback, senior Bobby Reh, in for graduated Paul Calandrelli, and what a debut he had on the field. His old man once roamed and won a state championship with the Hogs. Reh found 6 different receivers, hooking up with Cole Prescott 7 times, twice here on this drive, leading to a 28-yard touchdown pass and a 7-7 tie. Later, Reh finds Tyler Wolgamuth all alone down the right sideline for a 57-yard score and a 14-7 Hand lead. That was the score at halftime. In the third quarter, Reh makes his first big mistake of the game. Kyle Wicker with the easy pickoff deep in Hand's end, which leads to a short Jones touchdown run, and we're tied up at 14. Jones and the receivers had some trouble connecting for much of the afternoon, but not this time. A huge pickup for Jake Fiala, setting up Lamique Black's short touchdown catch, and ow, cramps. St. Joseph leads 21-14. Reh wasn't daunted, though. He uncorks this bomb to press guard down the field and dances his way inside the goal line. Hand punches it in on a QB sneak, and we're tied again, 21-all after 3. And gets back to work. Luca Boyce, remember his name, ripped off a big run into St. Joseph territory, and Reh finds Stone Leckie inside the 10, but St. Joseph holds, and Hand has to settle for a 31-yard field goal from Anthony Bowe and a 24-21 lead. Just under 3 minutes left. St. Joseph marches right back. Jones steps up and finds Rios again with a huge play down inside the 5-yard line. Jones does the honors from there, and with 1:10 remaining, Hogs looking good, up 28-24. Hand needs to go 80 yards with plenty of timeouts left for Bobby Reh. After converting a 4th down, Hand is in St. Joseph territory when Black steps in front of this pass and nearly ends the game with a pickoff. Oh man, he can't believe it. He should be upset because on the next play, Reh shakes it off and finds Cole Prescott wide open down the right sidelines, down to the St. Joseph's 13 with 10 seconds left. After a St. Joseph defensive holding call put the ball at the 7, Hand had time for one last play. And it's a perfect strike to Luca Boyce, unguarded out of the backfield, and wins on a walk-off 30-28. Wow, what a great game. And with such a new team this year, Hand has passed its first exam with flying colors. In a great debut, Bobby Reh was 18 for 32 for 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, and the interception. Cole Prescott, meanwhile, had 7 catches for 163 yards and a touchdown. And of course, in addition to having 18 carries for 106 yards, he scored the winner on a walk-off as Hand moves to 1-0 heading to next week's game versus SEC rival North Haven. Here's Coach Eric Becker and ya boy Bobby Reh getting some big bragging rights over his fam on Turkey Day, and perhaps with a side of barbecue chicken.
The story that I'm most proud of is Bobby Reh, whose dad won the 1990 state championship wearing maroon and gold as a cadet. Bobby Reh earned our starting quarterback job. He is our little general, and you saw what he did today. I'm so proud of him.
Well, you know, I've been throwing to the same receivers since I was in 8th grade, and we work in the off-season and season, so I have the utmost trust in them.
We have high expectations. We preach that we're built for this moment, and you know, we've been preparing for these guys since that tough day on Strong Field last December. This moment was our moment, and our boys rose up to it.
We ran a similar play a couple plays before, and didn't look great, but came back to it. We know Luca, he's a stud. Get him the ball, and good things happen. It's great, especially because, you know, I got a ton of family that's been to St. Joe's, goes to St. Joe's, so I'll have bragging rights at Thanksgiving dinner this year, so that's great. You know, we just finally got it done, and you know, like we always say, it was barbecue chicken for
It was an inside joke. You had to be there. And I was last year at the surf club where St. Joseph picked Calandrelli off 4 times. And one of them was taken back for a touchdown. And all of a sudden, I can't remember his name. The great linebacker for St. Joe last year who graduated. And when I did his interview, I asked him about the interception he took back for a pick 6, and he was like, "Oh, it's just barbecue chicken from the." And when he pulled that out, I was like stunned. I couldn't believe it. And Stone Leckie turned to me and goes, "We've been waiting all year for that." And who was that? He made our first team All-State last year. Why can't I remember his name all of a sudden? Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great. I love a good callback. I love a good callback.
Oh. It was, yeah. I mean, it was great, and he pulled it out at the. I mean, he didn't say it in my interview. It took the Channel 3 guy to get in there for him to do it. But what a great job by Reh. I mean, you know, his old man plays at the field. You know, granted with grass, and so he has some ties to St. Joseph, and he comes in there, won a three-way quarterback battle, and threw for 319 yards with 3 touchdowns, including a winner. To Luca Boyce. I gotta apologize really quickly to Luca Boyce. My footage of your post-game interview, something happened to it. My camera didn't record it, or so I know you're like, wait a minute, I was interviewed too, and that's the reason why you weren't in there. But that's a big win by Hand, coming back. Just a huge
great
one.
win. A whole new cast of characters for Hand, like a lot of new guys, and they stepped up against a St. Joe's team that had a lot of guys back. I mean, that is a huge win that could really propel them going forward.
Yeah, they're going to need it against North Haven next week, but they got some big boys up front. I mean, obviously Tim O'Malley being one of them is great. Some dudes up front, and they're going to be really tough to beat. Hands here, they're in Class SS now, so look out, gentlemen. That was my game on Saturday, a really big one. Obviously, St. Joe number 4 goes down You, Pete, were at the first big game, the only game actually, Alliance game of top 10 teams.
Yep.
It was Greenwich number 2 and Fairfield Prep number 1. Let's take a look at Pete's report on that game.
The battle between number 2 Greenwich and number 8 Fairfield Prep was one of the top games in the Connecticut High School Football Alliance during Week 1. The two programs met in the 2022 Class XL Finals, a Greenwich win, and the 2023 season opener, another Greenwich win. And on Friday night, it was more of the same. Sophomore quarterback Phil Tarantino, the 4th Greenwich quarterback in 4 years, opened the game with 2 touchdown passes, one to Hudson Squires and another to Michael Golden, as the Cardinals were in control fast. Though Fairfield Prep didn't go away, and Vincent Lombardo took a handoff 37 yards to the end zone to make it 14-7. Greenwich turned to the run game right before the half, as it ended with a Jack Kelly 3-yard touchdown run to take a 2-score lead into the locker room. Out of the break, Prep came out flying as the Jesuits moved down the field quickly, and Robbie Manning hit Jeremiah Langston in the back corner of the end zone to make it a 1-score game again, 21-14. But before the Jesuits could get comfortable, the Cardinals themselves went right down the field as Tarantino capped off an 80-yard drive, hitting Squires for his 2nd touchdown of the game. And on the ensuing Prep drive, Greenwich's Colin Swervasi picked off a Manning pass to end the threat. Michael Galano capped off the scoring with a 36-yard field goal. Hector Lopez rushed for 124 yards, and linebacker Justin Carroll led the defense with 9 tackles and a sack. Let's hear from Carroll talking about the Cardinals' ability to come out fast on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, coming out, we knew we had to come out fast, strong, set the tone in the beginning, the first quarter, and I think that's what we did. We tried to shut them down, even though we made some mistakes, some penalties, it's all something to work on over these next few weeks.
And here is Coach Anthony Morello talking about his team's aggressive play.
We certainly need to clean up the discipline, but it's one of those things, if you're playing with relentless motors and you're going absolutely nuts out there, sometimes you're going to need to sacrifice a few penalties for an aggressive style defense, which we ran tonight. And those guys, everybody was running all over the place. We had red jerseys, swarming to the ball. It's everything you want to see from a defense.
That was a fun game. Talk about aggressive. Greenwich had 15 penalties. Fairfield Prep had 1.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Anthony obviously knows more than me in terms of undisciplined. There was a couple of dumb mistakes that they made, but they were so aggressive. They were flying all over the ball. I don't think Fairfield Prep knew what hit them. I really don't. And Prep's got guys. They're very talented, but Greenwich hit them, and Prep came back, and then Greenwich hit him again. And that's kind of how it went. And then down there in the end of the second half, it was all Greenwich. I mean, just a pretty dominant win in the only top 10 matchup that we saw last week.
Is this a game we're going to see again, Pete?
I think so. I really do. We've seen Fairfield Prep lose games and then turn it on and dominate. Look, last year, I think they had 1 common opponent in the regular season, maybe more than 1. I could be wrong. Please don't quote me on that. Oh yeah, they had West Haven as a common opponent. Greenwich, not a pretty convincing win over West Haven, but not really super convincing. And then Fairfield Prep blows out West Haven at the end of the year, but then they go to the playoffs and West Haven blows out Fairfield Prep. Yeah. But they also both played Bishop Hendricken, who we're going to talk about later in the show. Greenwich struggled against Bishop Hendricken, needed a touchdown in the last minute, and then 2-3 weeks later, Fairfield Prep blew the doors off of them. So I'm eager to see how Fairfield Prep, kind of turns the page and moves forward. But this is definitely a matchup we're going to see in December. Yeah, I mean, I'll put my reputation on it. I don't know how much that's worth, but these are two of the most talented programs. I did. That is true. But these are the 2 most talented programs in Double-L, top to bottom. They have the bodies. They have the roster size, next man up. I mean, they have guys. So I'm looking forward to the rematch.
Yeah, I would think. Well, we've had a rematch in the last 2 Double-Ls, the last 2, right? Yeah, West Haven, week
Staples.
1 beat Staples. Staples comes back in the championship game, beats West Haven barely. Then the next year, obviously last year, West Haven Greenwich. So yeah.
So if anything tells us, yeah. So this is the rematch, or this will be a rematch, but. It was a really good game. The Tarantino kid was so impressive. I mean, he could throw the ball. He can run the ball. Greenwich, again, I mentioned it, earlier, 4 quarterbacks in 4 years, Jack Wilson to Rocco Grillo to MJ D'Angelo, 2 of those quarterbacks won state titles. And now Tarantino's here as a sophomore. And
doesn't matter where the quarterback is ever.
Yeah. But, he's a guy, he can do a lot of things. He's not just there to game manage. And before that last touchdown to Squires, it was 4th down. And Anthony, the second Squires touchdown was on 4th down. And Coach Morello was confident in him to let him throw. And I thought that was pretty huge. That was a pretty huge boost of confidence to let your sophomore throw on a 4th and 3 in a close game at the time. And the kid stepped up.
Yeah, it was a great job, and they look like they're running on all cylinders right now. Maybe even look a little stronger than last year, at least by the eye test. It's an amazing job with Anthony Morello has been coming up with over there 2 state titles already in 3 years. So we can imagine what's going to come next. Let's kind of take a look at the overall line scoreboard here. Here's how we're going to talk about all these games, but this is the tail of the tape from the Alliance. The average margin of victory was 23.3 points. The SWC actually surpassed that with 24.3 average margin of victory. The lowest margin of victory, obviously, 2, Hand beating St. Joseph 30-28. And the largest was 55, New Britain beating Kennedy in their first Alliance game of the NVL. They're 55-0. Only 7 games were decided by 8 points or fewer. And between there, most of the games were between 9 and 35 points, 35 being the point where you have running clock in the second half. And then games that were decided by more than 35 points were for about 25% of them. So 35, there were 14 of those. So a little bit of a balance, not a lot of exciting matchups, I guess, or not exciting, but great games that end up being great, which is what the Alliance is kind of here for, get competitive matchups together with. So, to that end, what can you say? The SWC, let's take a look here. 10-2. I'll go back one. The SWC was 10-2 overall. They were 0-2 versus the FCIAC, but undefeated about everybody else. The FCIAC finished 12-4. They were dominant pretty much. It says 24-2, but they were 4-2 against the SEC, 4-1 against the CCC, especially the FCIAC, and 2-0 versus the SWC. ECC mixed bag, 6-6, not bad considering usually this time of year they had a losing record. CCC just once again big conference. But when it comes to playing us, a lot of the Southern teams, man, CCC kind of gets pushed around a bit. They were 5-2 against the NVL, the newbies in the Alliance, but 2-11 against the Power 3, FCIAC, SEC, and SWC. The NVL in its first foray, 6-10 overall, 2-5 versus CCC, and the CTC really kind of got pushed around a bit, 2-8, 0-4 versus the SWC. So you look at the SWC's record. 4 of those games were against the CTC. And then the Indy games, which is Nottawag, Amistad, both those teams 1-1, and then the 2 Rhode Island teams were 1-1 in that game. So we're going to kind of look at all the games kind of here as we go forward. But let's get to the top 10 poll, Pete. We're going to get to the top 10, which just dropped on Monday afternoon. And here's where we stand right now with the top 10.
Week 1 of the high school football season is in the books, and week 2 kicks off on Thursday. So here is the GametimeCT top 10 football poll heading into the second week of the season. At number 10 is St. Joseph. The Hogs played good enough to win on Saturday, but lost to Hand on the final play, 30-28. They look to get into the win column against Danbury on Saturday. At number 9 is Massac. The Panthers stay put in the poll after defeating Holy Cross 32-21. 3 different players found the end zone in the win. Massac plays Bunnell in an intriguing matchup on Friday night. Coming in at number 8 is Staples. The Wreckers defense played well, holding Glastonbury to just a field goal in their 17-3 win. Staples hosts Stanford on Friday. At number 7 is Windsor. The Warriors retain their lone first-place vote and stay at number 7 after beating Torrington 28-12. Windsor plays South Windsor on Thursday night. At number 6 is Hand. The Tigers crashed the top 10 after beating St. Joseph 30-28 on the final play of the game. Hand will host North Haven on Friday night. At the midway point at number 5 is Brookfield. The Bobcats defense was lights out, holding Waterbury to no first downs in the entire game in their 53-0 win. Brookfield hits the road against Pomperaug on Friday. Coming in at number 4 is Darien. The new-look Blue Wave got off to a hot start after a commanding 35-0 win over Naugatuck. Darien hosts McMahon on Friday. into the top 3, and at number 3 is Killingly. The Trailblazers took care of Rhode Island's defending Division I champion Bishop Hendricken 41-32. Killingly gets back to ECC play against East Lyme on Friday. At number 2 is Greenwich. Starting their 4th quarterback in 4 seasons, the Cardinals put up points and the defense played strong in their 31-14 win over Fairfield Prep. Greenwich hosts Norwalk on Saturday. And at number 1, it's still New Canaan. The Rams were in the driver's seat from the jump in their 30-20 win over Newtown. New Canaan hosts Ridgefield on Friday night.
There you go. That is the Game Time CT Top 10 poll for this week. Not a lot of surprises there. You know,
there's a little bit of one. I have a surprise.
What's your surprise?
So St. Joe's loses to an unranked team, stays in the poll. Fairfield Prep loses to the number 2 team in the poll and drops out.
I see. Here's where I think that's kind of where I have still Prep in there as well. I have St. Joseph's too, but I think it's just a matter of how you lost versus how in both cases. St. Joe last second loss to Hand, granted an unranked Hand, but also Hand, and clearly Hand's pretty good enough. So I think they're giving a little bit of out there.
But being Hand didn't get them in the top 10. Now they were in mine, and I believe they were in yours as well.
They were in the top 10. Hand was in the top 10.
Hand was not top 10. Hand was unranked heading into the season.
Oh, going in. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So we had him in, but I'm just saying. So for the other voters, so an unranked loss drops you. A ranked loss drops you out, but an unranked loss keeps you in.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I think they both should be in. I have them all in, but it's interesting to me looking at how some of the voters put together their ballot, because great win for Hand, not so great loss for St. Joe's, and they were number 4. So it's just something that intrigued me. Also, Windsor keeping their first place vote. That was not an easy game against Torrington, and Torrington graduated a lot. I know Windsor did as well, but they had a first place vote. So that's interesting as well.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I don't understand that, but hey, this is what the poll is for. We want to collect as many opinions as possible. Remember, this is an opinion poll. This is votes. It's not Game Time CT guys sitting there going, I think we're going to drop them out.
This is not a personal ranking. This is a poll that is put together, but also this is an opinion show. So I'm giving my opinion.
Yeah, well, that's a fair opinion. I think the 2 losses, Fairfield Prep kind of, especially in the second half, didn't really show up against Greenwich. They'd been closer. Maybe they would have gotten a little more love. Listen, they got plenty of season left to get back into our good graces as usual. But then you have St. Joseph had the lead with a minute and 10 left. Gave up the lead in minute and 10, but hey, what are you going to do? There's still a team that's probably going to go play for a state championship. We shall see. I don't know. Joe Delvecchio thinks that after they gave up those last performances, but hey, what are you going to do? I mean, kind of looking down a little bit here at some of the top 10 teams. The first one that really sticks out is, listen, Pete, you saw Bishop Hendricken. Have you seen him twice?
No, I only saw them once last year.
So you only saw him against the Greenwich game. Then they also played Fairfield Prep, lost those games, but it was competitive against Greenwich. It was like a 1-point game, right? It's like
it was a final score. Yeah, Greenwich had a score in the final minute to win.
Right. So there you go. Greenwich came back and won the game. Bishop Hendricken can't get many games out in Rhode Island. They're, I guess they're I don't know, what's the Connecticut equivalent here?
NFA. NFA, right? Well, yeah, I mean, sure. They are too big for who they play, and they have to go out. I mean, the alliance was created a lot for a handful of reasons, but one of the big reasons was obviously the disparity in the ECC and no one in the ECC wanting to play NFA.
Yeah, well, not only does Killingly is fine with playing NFA, I don't think anyone in the ECC wants to play Killingly. So when they had their alliance game, pitched to them, hey, why don't you guys play Bishop Hendricken? Because remember, Bishop Hendricken came down here twice, and I guess they had to go on the road again. They can't get any games there. So Killingly, according to Chad Neal, he said immediately, we'll play them. Why not? I mean, and why not? I mean, it's not really going to hurt them in the rankings, but what a performance by Killingly. My goodness. Hayden Allard ran 31
impressed.
times for 248 yards and 2 touchdowns and caught 3 passes for 107 yards and a touchdown in a 41-32 win. That was a lot. It looks a lot closer than it was. Hunter Allard, his brother caught a 58-yard touchdown pass from Quinn Sumner, ya boy. And that was with 2 minutes. Let's see, they put him ahead 15-0, 2 minutes, 45 seconds into the game. And they never gave up the lead. I mean, Bishop Hendricken gave it a shot. Isaiah Brito completed 9 of 15 passes for 266 yards and 4 touchdowns. But Hayden Allard, 34-yard touchdown pass from Sumner with on 3rd and 12 and 9:13 left was the difference. And my jaw dropped. And according to Ned Griffin, who covered the game, what an atmosphere. It was amazing. 3,000 people showed up for that game.
Yeah.
I'm stunned.
Following it along, I was just so impressed. Again, I saw them last year. They're a good program. I mean, they have kids from all over. They send kids to Power 4 programs. I mean, they are a well-oiled machine. I was more surprised by Fairfield Prep's result against them last year than I was Greenwich's. But good for Killingley. I mean, we knew Killingley had a lot. We knew Killingley had a lot back. We knew they had a lot of studs back. Chad Neal does such a great job there. I'm not surprised they won, but I'm pretty surprised with how convincingly they won. And like you said, the score doesn't really indicate how close that game was.
No,
I mean, it was just pure domination.
Yeah, they were awesome in that game. It sent shivers down the spines of Class SS. Maybe, I don't know about hand, but certainly.
We all know it's going to be the two of them anyway. So
yeah. Unless they meet in the somehow with the crazy stupid.
Well, with hands win here, I mean this might hand winning on Saturday definitely kind of helps.
Yeah, it's going to help them get a high seed. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's going to help you. But the playoff points are not going to do us any favors. It's a mess. Kind of running back down the top 10. I mean, start off with number 1 Buchanan. Your boy Espo went nuts, picking up right where he left off, rushing for 2 touchdowns. 3 of 5 yards, while I only have 44-yard receiving touchdown and 30-10 victory over Newtown. We knew New Canaan was going to be A-OK. Surprised, Newtown lost some guys, and I heard a lot of great things about the defense, but they just could not stop Espo. And I don't know, a few teams can. I mean, he's already on, he's already on track to having another all-state season for us, like you said at the beginning in our previous show. Bigger, stronger, faster, better. So there's Esposito. Pretty amazing job by them, man. What are your thoughts on New Canaan, Pete? Anything? I mean,
it's New Canaan. It's a different year. What did I say in the poll last week? New boss, same as the old boss. I mean, yeah. They just have guys come through every year. You want to talk about a well-oiled machine? That's them from top to bottom. And they just compete. Their defense is amazing, no matter the names. They find ways to win on offense. We've seen them with quarterbacks who can throw 50 touchdowns and win a state championship. We've seen them with quarterbacks who throw for less than 10 touchdowns and win a championship. So they are just a well-coached team that is going to give you their best every single day. And you can't play your best against them to beat them. You have to play beyond your best to beat them. It's going to be very hard for anyone this season to do that. Now, the FCX schedule is a little different, so we're going to see some fun matchups this year for New Canaan, and they're definitely going to be battle-tested.
Moving down, going all the way down to Darien, where we had that matchup that, a lot of the people of the NVL were wondering about how that would shake out. Listen, it's not Naugatuck from last year, but how would Naugatuck fare against Blue Wave, who lost their quarterback to transfer to Brunswick, and everybody else graduated, with the exception of just a handful of guys. But the new quarterback, Jay Francisi, threw 3 touchdowns to lead the Blue Wave, like you said, the new look Blue Wave, to a 35-0 victory in that alliance game. So if you were wondering how that would show up for Darien or Naugatuck, I don't know. 35-0 seems like a lot. Early season, kind of tough. Naugatuck lost a lot of guys, but they need to play these games. We talked about it last week, Pete. They need to play these games and kind of see who they're up against in the class. Where they're still in
they're in Class L. I will say, and because I was the one who was kind of beating that drum, and check out my extra points story this week. I do a whole breakdown of how the NVL fared in the Alliance and what it could mean going forward. I'm very excited about it. But I will say this, a lot of Darien people were, from what I heard, not super happy about what I said on the show last week about them not deserving to be in the top 10. And I'm going to be honest, I stand by it right now. Right. And you vote the way you vote, and a lot of people vote the way they vote in terms of like programs and having guys, up next, and they kind of continue the trend. But they replaced a lot of guys. I think they're going to be in the top 10 at the end of the year. I think they're going to be playing in the state championship. I said that, but everyone kind of like freaked out that I was like, look, Darien went out and beat an NVL team. Good. They should do that. That's what they should do. Even on a down year, they should go out and beat an NVL team. And they've done that in the playoffs. They beat Naugatuck, a really good Naugatuck team with Jet Hall, who was all-state first team for us. And they went in with seven wins and beat Naugatuck there. So this is what Darien should do. Now, when we see Darien play against some of the upper teams in the FCAC, then we'll see who they truly are. Obviously, a great start for a lot of the new faces. Get a win under your belt, put up some points. Andy, I think the only person who liked what I said was Coach Andy Grant being like, nobody talk about us. Nobody talk about us. Please, nobody talk about us. But they even had an umpire come up to me at my softball game, and he was walking by. He knows what I do, and he pops over, and he's like, Pete, there are people in the parking lot from Darien with pitchforks looking for you. I'm like, I don't even think what I said was that bad. But no.
You were all over them last year about, they're number one.
Maybe
can they not win this year?
Maybe I'm burned. Maybe I'm burned. Maybe I feel a little hurt by that.
I feel burned. I'll say that. I feel burned by Darien, especially after last year. We had them, all these guys, and D1 play 4 D1 guys, one future.
I mean,
D1.
look, they got to the state finals, so it's not like they had a bad year.
Yeah, I know. Look, it
wasn't as impressive as we thought it would be. But everyone in Darien, relax. It's a long season.
Yeah. Moving down a bit to see what's going down the top 10, just the games that happened. The Alliance Brookfield defeated Watertown, the Brady Gambulus Watertown, 53-0. They did not allow a first down. That's really all I need to say about that game. We talked about Windsor, talked about kind of in a dogfight with Torrington. Staples, Matty Jackalith getting his first victory over a team. I actually picked Glastonbury against Staples. I don't know what I'm smoking, because New Cannon's defense showed up and really gave them a tough time. Glastonbury only managed 3 points. The offense, a little suspect maybe on the Staples side, or maybe Glastonbury was that good. I don't know. Mickey Ross was the kind of the star of the show. Hit a 46-yard field goal, went 2 for 2 on extra point attempts, and every kickoff he hit went into the end zone, making the Glastonbury start at the 20. That is a weapon. Every time you have a kid who does that, gets touchback, good job. So Staples kind of gets things going. That's the first time they played Glastonbury since their playoff game that they lost to Glastonbury 7-6. And I remember the CCC at the time, kind of, who was it? It was Fran Pfeiffer, their head coach, crowing about how we can play with these teams up north. And the rest of the league in the playoffs lost to all the FCS teams they faced, which is one of the all-time greatest. He's sitting there flexing, meanwhile the rest of the league is just collapsing around that. I think they're the only ones who got to the semis. Just unbelievable.
Well, they did that a couple of years ago too. When they got to the semis, they beat West Haven in the first round.
Yeah. Well, no, that was
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, a couple of years ago. Well, listen, this is a pretty good Glastonbury team. Yeah. I don't want to read too much into this, but I picked them in the picks.
No, you got a chance to pick them again.
Yeah, let me down.
Because they got a big one against Southington this weekend.
Oh, yeah, that is a big one. Suddenly, there's a lot of big games coming up. But and then finally at number 10, we have Massac. The Steve Christie era is over. The Aaron Champagne era continues. He didn't have to really do much in this game, Pete. He kind of just handed the ball off to Jake Viglione, Michael Charlin, Luke Constantini, Dominic Corvito. Viglione scored twice, and the defense had a huge goal line stand with 7 minutes left. 32-21 victory over Holy Cross, giving Chris Pace his first victory as head coach of the Panthers. So good job by him. Again, like we said, he's a good coach. We figure he's going to do well there, and he's got him rolling already. New quarterback, new Holy Cross quarterback, Brady Lombardo actually did a pretty good job taking over that gig. He countered for 3 TDs in the loft. So he hung tough in there. And Holy Cross did not play badly in that game. It was kind of nip and tuck, but Massac able to pull away. Dijon Graves also played well, had a touchdown. So not a bad job there by Massac and Holy Cross. And as for the teams that are out of the top 10, the big one obviously is the Ansonia one. That game, obviously, Tom Brockett steps down. New era there as well. And it would be very interesting to see how they'd actually play in a regular season match. I don't know. I don't think Ansonia's ever played Bloomfield in a regular season matchup. So. I certainly know that they've never played at Bloomfield. And this was the big Thursday night game on 9/11. We had a lot of remembrance there. And what would Ansonia, which lost Obviously, they lost Quintez Whittle at running back. They lost a quarterback. They lost lots of dudes, but they still have a lot of guys back. They're worth checking out. So here's what the scene was like. Ansonia's 23-14 victory over Bloomfield. Kicked off the season at Phil Rubin Stadium in Bloomfield, home of the 10-time state champion Warhawks, playing host for the first time to the 22-time state champions and defending Class S titleist Ansonia Chargers. But it's a new era in Tinseltown. Longtime coach Tom Brockett retired in April after 20 years and 8 state championships. He was in attendance, but now as an AD and a spectator, as new head coach John Mihalko takes the reins. What a way to make your debut in Ansonia's first Alliance game in a rematch of last year's final. No pressure, coach. Defenses made their presence known early in this one as both offenses took their time to find their legs. But late in the first quarter, Ansonia does what it does best, run the football. Here's Tymir Taylor, the sophomore, signaling his arrival following his big boys up front and bolting into Bloomfield territory, and then again to set up Ansonia's first score of 2025, a short touchdown run by senior Krishan Fogel. Two legends right there, Ansonia's Brockett hanging out with former Northwest Catholic coach Mike Tyler. Penalties were rampant on both sides, though. Ansonia missed out on a big play when Jazari Lawson's pick six got wiped out because of one. And when Bloomfield got the ball back, hello, Romar Heron. No catching him, 41 yards. Bloomfield within 7-6. The 2-point play was no good. Late in the second quarter, Ansonia back on the move with another nice run from Taylor. Ansonia at the goal line for a new quarterback, Javier Figueroa. He goes in. Ansonia extends its lead to 14-6. Bloomfield's Nehan Basu recovered an Ansonia fumble, and Bloomfield appeared to capitalize on Vernon Kelly's TD scamper here, but it too is wiped out because of a penalty. And Ansonia's defense, led by the big fella, Jaden Whittle, number 74 in your program, was a monster all night. He made sure the score stayed Ansonia 14-7 at the break. But second play of the second half, the quarterback, Cameron White, busts through the line, and look at those Jets. 60 yards, tie game. That's Bloomfield for you. The defenses, though, tightened from there. Both teams recovered fumbles but went nowhere. And Jaden Whittle, again and again, he's in on this tackle and then just knocks this unsuspecting back over. We go to the fourth quarter, still tied. After pounding away at the lines all night, Ansonia catches Bloomfield off guard with this bomb from Figueroa to a wide-open Danny Ayala. 49 yards, too easy. Ansonia goes up for good, 21-14. And when the Chargers got the ball back, it was hammer time with Taylor and Fogel, who racked up 255 combined yards, but more importantly, eating up precious clock. Bloomfield did get the fourth down stop at the goal line, but needing to go 90 yards, Ansonia's Tavon Long made sure they had no shot. He busts up this run on the left side and then sacks White for the Ansonia safety to make a big winner out of the Chargers and get win number 1 for new coach John Mihalko, who was admittedly a bundle of nerves before this one.
How nervous were you going into this one?
Oh, man. You know, it's one thing calling your first game and really called an offense before, and it was very nerve-wracking. Believe me, I could not sleep tonight. I could not sleep last night. I'll probably sleep a lot better tonight, but, you know, lots of help, lots of, support from the staff, and, we got through it. We did pretty well, so I'm very happy with today.
It was a battle beginning, then we just came down to the wire. It all came down conditioning and toughness, and you see how it happens. Just keep running the ball 24/7, no huddle. We even ran no huddle a couple of times. Just keep going at it 24/7, keep running that ball. Nothing new in Ansonia, same thing. Keep on continuing the legacy.
I grew up running it. I spent 11 seasons now, or 11 seasons under Tom running the ball. That's what I wanted to do. It's what part of the reasons he hired me was for that. So, and I want to carry on that tradition. But I think, we did score on a pass play. Don't remember that. So,
Tymir Taylor finished with 21 carries for 146 yards. Fogel had 27 carries for 109 yards and a score. And Danny Ayala had that huge 48 go-ahead touchdown catch from Figueroa. Ansonia 1-0, Bloomfield 0-1. Great start for the Chargers. Indeed, it was a great start.
I'm so happy for John. That is great.
Headline: Shelton Nan wins as Ansonia coach. I mean,
well, you got to tell
dogs and cats
story.
living together.
You look at the interview. He's not on the field. There's a bus light blinking in his face. Yeah. I mean, he's never been a head coach before, and I don't want to spoil your story, but he didn't know he had to say it for an interview.
No, he goes, Ned and I had to track him down after a lot of the guys just leave. Guys, stick around, man. We might want to talk to you.
Well, he's new.
Romanowski was like, you got to talk to J.B. Long. You got to talk to Long. And I'm like, all right, where is he? Oh, I don't know. All right, well, I'll talk to you then. Again. But yeah, we ran him down. We went to the parking lot. And there he is, kind of directing traffic there. I'll get his players on the bus. And John goes, oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot.
I have to do this now. Yeah, this is part of my responsibilities now. No, that's awesome though. That's pure. That is a pure moment.
Pete, I gotta say a couple things. One, it's weird to hang out with Tom Brogan on a sideline talking about the game. You know, he's like a fan. You know, he's like any other person. But you're like, man, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm like, I can't. It's like, it's just weird seeing him there, and I'll give him credit, man. He far away from things. He acts just like an AD. He doesn't want to get. He doesn't want to get. Doesn't want to meddle. He trusts his staff, and that's how it's done at Ansonia. That's what they did for him with Jack Hunt when he stepped down. They turned it over to Brock, and look what happened. So, John, best wishes. Obviously, they off to a great start, beating Bloomfield at Bloomfield. And let me tell you, the other thing I want to tell you, when you see those two guys, Whittle and Red, coming at you on that pull, the pulling the guards and mashing into that hole, man. I don't know about Bloomfield. They tried, but I don't want to be anywhere near those two steamrollers, man. When they come right around that side, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm about to get flattened. And man, they opened up the holes all night. The sophomore, obviously, they're probably going to really good player for them. And Fogel, kind of pedestrian, but he was on defense too, so they didn't want to use him too much. The other kid got a lot more of the carries, and not more of the carries, but he got a lot more of the yards. Really great performance there. And Ansonia looks pretty good, so I don't think they're going anywhere. On Friday night, speaking of the NVL, one of the big games, Pete, that I was all about. I was really thinking about going to it. First of all, I thought it was an East Catholic, so that was a weird thing. But I was going to go to Amity versus Maloney because alma mater, seeing how they do against the rebuilt other Spartans, the Green Spartans. But I got a call from my boss who said, we don't have anyone to cover that Woodland East Catholic game. And I'm like, oh, how can we miss that? So I ran up there to Woodland, and it was all Woodland, Pete. The Hawks just dominated East Catholic. Ian Pringle rushed for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns on 13 carries. And Nico Scampolino scampered for 2 touchdowns of his own. The defense was just absolutely dominant for the Hawks. They gave East Catholic and our guy, Joey Montalvo, just absolutely no shot, really just dominated up front. East, a lot smaller roster compared to Woodland, which looks like a machine right now. This game was over at halftime, allowing me to head down to Amity. But East didn't get his first down until on a 4th down play. They converted it at midfield, and then they have 2 more in the first half. And that was over, 49-6 victory. And Woodland, like you said in the preview, Pete, everything and then some. Tom Broganowski kind of busted my chops. He goes, wait, you think East Catholic is going to win that game? And I'm like, I don't know. My state's players. I still pick Woodland to win in the picks.
I picked East, so. That's my anti-NVL bias.
Oh, wow. I heard all about Woodland, how great they are, Pete, from you. And that's what
But we hear a lot of great things about NVL teams throughout the year, and then when they play someone who's not in the NVL, they struggle. I was wrong. Woodland rocks. Good job, Coach Lado.
Awesome. They look awesome.
But they look great, and their offense is awesome. It was nice to see. We knew their offense was going to be really good, but it was really nice to see them shut down, East Catholic. Joey Montalvo is still an amazing all-state football player, but they took him out of that game, and that was impressive.
So I drove down this short drive over.
Nice and safely.
Nice and safely. Real nice and safe. Down 67. get to Newton Road. I park all the way in back, and then I realize as I'm walking through the baseball field at Amity, you get up there, all the parking spaces. I got to talk to those guys. I got to talk to any of those guys.
You don't have like an alma mater sticker?
No.
Like free parking everywhere?
No, I don't. No, I
get that.
I hoofed it. I need the exercise too.
You're not getting your steps?
No. When I got there, Maloney was up 20-7 on Amity. It was a close game. They tacked on a touchdown in the second quarter. So it was 2 scores. Amity had got the ball back. We're showing the final play here, but Amity got the ball back and got a goal line stop up front by Maloney. Great job by them stopping there. Amity then got the ball back, scored to get within 1 score. And Maloney faced 3rd and 17 from its own 33. And the new quarterback, Eli Shawerda, found Josh Hayes for a 67-yard touchdown pass to win it. Obviously, Amity, a little broken coverage there. Here's the play again. Amity, a little broken coverage there. Nobody was covering Hayes, who just wide open down the sidelines. And that was it. They put the bow on that game for a big victory for Maloney. And after we talked to those guys, and they said, yeah, we lost a lot of guys. I mean, we lost the receiver, lost the quarterback, lost our running back / linebacker. But Pete, let me tell you, they look pretty good up front in this game. They got a ways to go. They have obviously to Britain this week, which is a contentious game last year that they lost. Really nice start by Maloney to win this game. The one guy, you saw the footage there. One guy who had a really good game was Amity's, Luciano. Christian Luciano, whose mother I went to high school with. I don't think she remembers me, but that's okay. Nancy. But he ran for 35 times or 154 yards. And that one play that you saw there where he was dragging half the Maloney team down, it was just typical. He was awesome. He was great on defense as well. And Amity, listen, George has done a great job there. And it was the largest crowd. This is the other thing I got to say that I'd ever seen at Amity at a football game. The largest. The place was absolutely mobbed. The parking lot was filled all the way down, like I said, all the way down to the high school. You got to walk up that field. The place was mobbed. I love it. I love seeing that. We didn't have a third or a tenth of that when we were playing. Of course, we were 2-8-1 or 2-7-1 or something back when I was there in '93. My last year was there in '93. So great job to see that Amity in that game. But another great job. Maloney not going anywhere, Pete.
No, and I think we expected them to compete and be good. I think the thing that kind of hurt Maloney in the preseason, maybe in the poll or even some preseason recognition, was it's not a lot of name recognition back. They usually have guys that starred last year who are coming back and able to build off it. There's a lot of new faces there at Maloney, but they've made the playoffs 7 straight seasons under Kevin Frederick. I mean, this is a team that we know is going to compete, but great, strong win for them to open up the season. I think a lot of us were interested to see how Amity was going to compete, and it looked like they competed pretty well, and that's really good. Look, Amity's schedule was easy last year. Let's just call it like we see it. It was an easy schedule. Maloney's probably the best team that they've faced between last year and this day, week 1 this year. And it was really nice to see Luciano have a really good game. He can play against anyone, and it was nice to see him actually go out and do that. And I think that's really going to help Amity as they move forward this season.
Yeah. The Shawerda from Maloney, I guess his old man played for UNH, played for Pete Rosamondo, and so he's a football kid, so that much about them. They got a good guy back there, and he seems like he's unflappable. 3rd and 17 is big spike. They don't turn that over. Amity's getting the ball back short field, probably going right down and scoring, winning that game 21-20 or something like that. So that's a big spot by them, but good job by Kevin Frederick and his gang. I'm just going to we're getting kind of short on time, but I'm going to run down some of the other Lions games that really stuck out to me. The first one that really, I was just blown away. I would say I sung their praises a little bit in the top, not the top 10, but in the preview show. Double L, played Darien great, Notre Dame, Capasso, all those guys. And our old pals Ludlow decided to kind of stick it to us, or at least me, in this game. Unbelievable performance. They were in control pretty much throughout. Notre Dame got within there, got within a score late. But Ludlow, Fairfield Ludlow, a team that we gave up for dead after graduating all those guys, 38-34. A guy who had a big game was one of the guys who came back. A guy I thought was really good. I saw him get to play against Darien last, and that was Liam Bond. Caught 7 passes for 140 yards and a touchdown, and he ran for 31 yards and a touchdown on 6 carries. And Ryan Love, their new quarterback, 22-34, 389 yards and 4 touchdowns. Notre Dame, where's the D? My goodness. And Ludlow, I mean, we were talking about Ward. Ludlow's like, what about us? Don't forget about us over here. That's my mom's alma mater.
Well,
so.
when we talk about Ludlow, it doesn't work out. So maybe they want us to stop talking about that.
Yeah, we should. Mom wasn't happy with me. She's like, Ludlow. Oh, yeah. Anyway, so that was a huge game. I don't have any highlights from that game. We'll work on that. But another big game that I don't want to say it's eye-popping, but it was kind of interesting was West Haven. Tom Unger takes over. We got nobody left, man. No, nobody. So, I mean, even Andre Von Dixon transferred. He's over at Waterford now. I almost said Watertown. Waterford now, transferred there. But there's one guy who did show up recently, and that would be Amir Danley from Hill House. So we have another transfer at West Haven doing some things there, but he's there now, the running back, who Tom didn't want anyone to know about. I don't know how much everybody really benefits from like not saying who they have on their team or stuff, but apparently they didn't. They were trying to keep that on the QT. So hey, to each their own. I guess it helped them here. West Haven 30, Manchester 6. But the star of the show was quarterback Mason Wright, his first varsity start, another sophomore. Quarterback. He completed his first 6 passes, finished 10 of 17 for 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, and added a rushing touchdown. As the Westies, kind of also give it up for dead a little bit with a heck of a lot of guys coming back, new coach and all. So they get their win. I believe they have a pretty big one coming up this week, Pete. I believe that would be Shelton, who I did not mark down on here, but Shelton had a pretty dominant win over Connard. And so that kind of sets up, all right, let's see if the Westies are still here and if Shelton's back. So we'll see that this week.
Yeah.
All right, moving.
Nice.
Go ahead. What do you have?
No, it was just nice to see West Haven get back in the, winning. This is a really good program. Like you said, we kind of left them for dead. A lot of new faces, but I mean, Manchester also graduated a lot. So let's not, think too, let's not put too much in this win. Shelton also is better this year. So I'm really interested to see how West Haven and Shelton duke it out in a very classic SEC game. I'm very excited for that one.
Yeah, that should be a really good one. We're going to jump back a bit to Thursday night. Our old pal John Kappa just shouted us out in the post game. Love GametimeCT. We love you guys. He was back for the first time since he basically was dismissed after recruiting, after the CIC found recruiting violations. He says, no, they didn't do that. But listen, nobody seems to care anymore because Berlin, with a huge opening night win, 50-12 over New London. Eli Rice returned a kickoff 83-yard for a touchdown and caught a 13-yard scoring pass. And Carmine Rio caught 2 touchdown passes and had an interception. I watched the reel on our Instagram and YouTube, and they were stoked to have Cap back in action, and they love him, and Berlin's here and ready to go. So that'll be a fascinating see how they're able to go. Hey, listen, we all know Cap's a good coach, and you should try to prove it there. New London, again, it kind of goes back to New London. They've got a new coach. Not a ton of guys on the roster there. So, I don't know how surprising that is. Berlin's got some big games coming down the pike, clearly. Kind of sticking in the East. Yeah, the turn. Sticking in the ECC a bit. Wethersfield went to the playoff last year. Obviously, lost Cam Ridgey. Benell also went to this. When they went to the semis, they had some big wins last year, including one over Massac. We'll get that in a second. But our guy, Roddy Ricketts, kind of getting his all-state season perhaps started. The junior caught a 29-yard touchdown pass, rushed for a 24-yard touchdown while adding a pickoff on defense. Benell, 21. Wethersfield, 7. Not bad by Wethersfield, all things considered. They got some dudes, but Benell, there he is, our guy, Roddy Ricketts. Lots of D1 teams chasing him. So that was a big win by Benell going into their game at Benedict Field, at Massac, the team they beat last year. Get your tickets now. That's Friday night at, I believe, 7 o'clock. Yeah, at in Monroe. So, man, that's a really big one. Pete.
Yeah, that one's like 10 minutes from my house. Just saying.
Pete, you're an editor here. You can kind of,
All right, I'll be in Monroe. I'll be in Monroe.
So does that mean I'm going to West Haven, Shelton? I know Shelton's dying to see me back. I haven't seen them in 2 years.
Dude. I think you got it.
Right? Is that
I saw it's at West Haven,
Yeah.
but I saw Shelton during the offseason. I got to see Coach DeFelice during a scrimmage. So now it's your turn to go see him.
Before we kind of get one more game I kind of want to highlight here was Danbury 35-21 over Hamden in a game that, just get this, I put this in the guide, but it bears repeating again. Danbury has 1,900 boys in their school, Pete. 1,900 boys, and Hamden has 8, so they have double the amount of boys that Hamden does, and Hamden's still one of the biggest schools in the state, which is unbelievable. I mean, I know Danbury was big, but I need to check that math a bit. I think the next boys is I think the next one down might be NSA or Greenwich, which like has 1,100 or something. But like 19 boys at Danbury, still one high school there. That is absolutely nuts. Getting to Danbury, listen, Danbury needed to rally past Hamden, and listen, led by you man commit Brandon S. The Hatters defense was awesome. They had about, it's hard to kind of do because it's stats, sack stats in the CIS is different than the NFL. So I looked at it, and I mean, they had about 10, they said 13 sacks in their comeback victory over Hamden. I mean, either way you cut it. I mean, here's the way it quickly works, though. In order to have a sack, the quarterback needs to be in the process of still passing. If he turns and tucks and starts to run forward, that's usually not a sack in the NFHS rules. So here they all are. You can see that we appreciate Augie Thierry throwing up the highlights. I mean, I watched them all day. I mean, listen, they kind of dominated up front. That's dominant. Yeah, just dominate up front in a game that, kind of went, who knows where they go. They got your back. There it is for Danbury, Danbury's Twitter feed. So we appreciate them showing us that. I got that game, Pete. Your one you just typed in. I got that later. So we'll talk about them in a little bit. But Pete, our producer Danny, why don't you throw up the Alliance scoreboard once again? Was quickly to the original one, the one with all the there you go. So as you see, there is a ton of games, and we would be here till Christmas if we had to talk about it. But obviously you want to take a look at the big three: the SWC, the FCAC, and the SCC versus big four, I guess. The CCC want to throw themselves in there. So here's how they kind of all broke down. Let's kind of take a look at some of the other scores that happened this week. In the next slide, Danny. Here's some of the big ones. Obviously, this is all the FCAC, SEC, SWC, and CCC here. The FCAC dominated. Listen, they all lost. They won all but one game against the CCC. They went 4-2 against the SEC, including Bridgeport Central, beating Wilbercross. We'll get to that in a little bit. Hand St. Joseph, obviously, was a big one for the SEC, but Greenwich, Ludlow coming in there, really tough. Harding beating Stanford. And then they are 2-0 versus the SWC. And then the SEC did also well against the CCC. So did the SWC, some of these other scores from around. And then obviously the CTC had their troubles versus the SWC. The SWC's overall score was a little inflated because some of those teams, 3 shutouts. That's tough. I mean, and that's not even showing the Brookfield game in there against the NVL. But finally, let's actually look at Pete, your boys from the NVL and their first Alliance foray. Here we go. Didn't do a terrible job overall when you think about it. 6-10, they won 6. It's not like that time they played the SWC and only won 1 out of there when they matched the whole leagues up and they only won once. Not even close to that. They did show up. Ansonia obviously beating Bloomfield was huge. Woodland beating East Catholic was huge, and that was how they did against the CCC. Torrington showed up against Windsor, but Windsor obviously winning that game. Against the ECC, Seymour with a pretty big win over Griswold Wheeler. Lots of scoring in that one. Waterbury Career goes all the way down to Stonington, comes out with a big win on that. And then Crosby, they're 1-1 versus the FCAC. Crosby coming up with a 20-9 win over West Hill. I mean, I wish I could have known about Crosby a little bit, maybe we could have picked that game, but we didn't get anything from Crosby. I don't know what happened. They could have had the New York Giants down there playing for him. I don't know. But that was kind of stuck in Pete's craw a little bit. We didn't hear from him. I mean, Crosby.
We didn't hear from Waterbury Career either. So
yeah, that's another one. Yeah, I should pass the blame around a little bit. Wilton, I mean, Charlie Calabrese had a huge game, and Bethel getting shut out. And then down the we already talked about Brookfield and Massac. So that is the NVL, how they fared. You can read all about it in Pete's column this week, the extra points. Looking forward to that. So very interesting. I mean, any other Alliance games, Pete, that I did not mention that we did not talk about? There were a ton of games that weren't Alliance games.
I was going to say, Cheshire Xavier, we mentioned Capodice's return. Obviously, Sean Marion returned to Xavier. They played Cheshire in an Alliance game, but they're both SEC teams. But Cheshire really good in that game. Marion is a good coach. Marion, he's a really good coach. We know that. But it's going to take time. It's going to take time to build up Xavier back to being the big bad that they were when he was there. And, everyone's got to have a little patience because we know that they can do it. And we just got to wait.
Cheshire all fired up coming out of that game, but nice crowd there. I mean, they're Alliance games, but I can't put them in the standings because like SEC.
I don't even think the Alliance. I don't think the Alliance account even put them in the standings. I think there was like a little note that said like even the conference games weren't included in this because you can't have I'm going to quote Ned Griffin here, but you can't have SEC on SEC crime.
North Haven beat up East Haven. That was another one. Artie McCormick, the fourth, going ham in that one. Again, though, we'll see the Nighthawks. I almost said Indians. The Nighthawks playing hand this week. So get your tickets now for that one. That's another game. See that. So again, there's just so much going on, and we can't really get to it all. So we're just gonna kind of go to the end here and kind of get to our shout-outs. I gotta get the graphic going, but shout-outs. We got shout-outs. Pete, shout-outs.
All right, I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to go to Norwalk. The Bears playing on the road all season again, but their sophomore quarterback, Easton Pace, threw for 199 and 3 touchdowns, rushed for another 141 yards and 3 more touchdowns in their win over East Haven, 41-21. Heck of an opener there, Easton, and the Bears are in the win column. Who do you got, Sean?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go back to what I mentioned before because he was on the cusp of our 50 players to watch, and it's not the top players. It's just kind of 50 players to watch. When you start going past, 25, which we used to do, and now you're starting to kind of split hairs a bit about who should be on it, who should not be. Some of the guys we put on there is just because, we haven't mentioned this team once, and this team already has 2 guys. So Jaden Whittle kind of got left off the group, and he didn't take too kindly to that, and he showed out. Give him credit. You know what? I'll show you. And with me in attendance, with a lot of other guys there, Ned's there, man, did he show out, man. We showed his highlights before. Just when he wasn't in the backfield, he was chasing down quarterbacks and running backs. Just a great performance there. And, Ansonia prides itself on its pressure defense, 4-4. They force the issue. They make you make the mistakes. And they just pin their ears back and go after you. And Jaden Willow, man, between him and Red Romanowski, my goodness. Pete, what do you got?
All right, next up, I'm going to go a little defense love. I went to Newington on Thursday night. I know we didn't talk about the game. It was an interesting game. Like I said, a lot of cramps, kind of a slow game, but Newington won that game. But Heath Whedon, the All-State linebacker, made 13 tackles. He scored on a 2-point conversion as well. The Nor'easters defense played really well. No donuts this week, but they look good. Another strong team for Coach John Aquavita this season. And Heath Whedon is going to lead the way on D. Who do you got, Sean?
Well, quick, no donuts, man. That's a blessing. As I know, during a fall season, man, those cider donuts, man, from Bishop Farms out in Guilford, man. Ooh. Keep me away. Or up in Southington, if I ever go up there for if they're good this year, maybe I'll stop over. Yeah, keep me away from donuts. I'm gonna go. Or we were gonna mention him in the stuff, but this is we didn't cover this game because what was gonna happen was Bridgeport Central a team that was just on the cusp of getting to the playoffs and playing, or was in the playoffs, playing FCX finals, just a dominant program, and then just fell off the map for whatever reason. Dave Catalina retired, and they just haven't had it together. And just shocking that Central had, and that was during their era, that they were one victory away from tying Bassett's all-time losing streak of 62 games, and they were playing who were Wilbur Cross of New Haven, another team that's been struggling week. And would they snap the streak? Well, Anjay Kearney, I think I said his name right, I don't know, but Anjay Kearney, the senior quarterback, threw for 2 touchdowns, both to Rashidi Newton, and he rushed for another for his first career varsity football game, putting an end to the Hilltoppers' streak. They defeated the Governors 21-8 on Saturday at Kennedy Stadium. Hopefully this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship down there. Bridgeport Central, we want all our teams to win. And now it's it was another one. I guess Wilby snapped their winning. I didn't even mention that. We didn't barely mention that, but Wilby snapped their long losing streak. I believe that was 21 games. So they deserve a little quick shout out there too. But that great job by Bridgeport Central. You get to the cusp of the state mark. Everyone's nervous, but they were not going to be denied in this one. Pete.
Yeah, and Bridgeport Central has a chance to be 2-0. They got Bassick this weekend as well. So another winnable game for the Hilltoppers. Don't read too much into it. Go out, don't read your press clippings. But Bridgeport Central has a chance to do something they haven't done in a long time, and that's start the season 2-0. All right, my next one is Fairfield Ward quarterback James Delavope. We've been covering this kid now, I think, for 4 years. He started as a freshman. Ward has kind of always been there. We talked to him earlier this preseason. They had a lot of confidence going into this year, and he showed out in their week 1 win over Simsbury. He only threw for 170 yards, but he threw for 4 touchdowns in their 42-20 win over Simsbury. So I wanted to give James a shout out. Thanks for hanging out with us that night at the FCX event. It was very cool, but I wanted to give you a shout out for backing it up. We were talking, we were hyping you guys up, and you went out and you proved it, and you won, and good for Coach Parisi as well. All right, Sean, who's the last one?
Well, just really quick on that, guys. I know we were like, oh, I don't know about Ludlow this year, man. Look out! Look out! Big trouble, man. Big trouble. Oh, good Lord. I mean, I love that. Listen, I have friends in Fairfield. Their kids go to school there. It's I love talking to those guys and about their schools and everything. But usually we don't get to talk that much. But I love talking a little Fairfield football. Pete, my last one. Speaking of, I don't know, speaking of anything, but Ryan Lyons, man, from New Milford. Here's a team we didn't say much about. They only returned a few guys. They went down to New Haven. That's a long trip. They went down to New Haven, and Lyons, their quarterback, completed 21 of 27 passes for 234 yards and 3 touchdowns, and rushed 67 yards and 2 touchdowns on 9 carries in a 49-24 victory over the Academics at Dalling Field. That's pretty impressive. That's a long drive, and usually teams that have to make that type of drive fall asleep on the way there. Not so. New Milford was wide awake, and they're 1-0. Sean Murray and the gang. Good opening win. That's not easy. So Pete, those are the shout outs. Down the road, we're gonna make sure we get all our footage and show them as they're doing their thing. But to wrap up this Alliance week, we got another one coming up next week. We kind of go back to a little bit to our respective corners for the time being. And when you look at the games, Pete, and we mentioned a few of them off the top, Benell at Massac, 7 p.m., be there to be square. Get your tickets now, all that good stuff. North Haven at Hand at 7, Shelton at West Haven Friday, and there are a few others out there. I mean, suddenly, but those are the undefeated ones that kind of really stick out for me, at least the top.
Yeah, obviously, Amity, Notre Dame, West Haven. That's a big one in the SEC. We had preseason hopes for both of them, and they're both coming off losses. I wouldn't say surprising losses, maybe more for Notre Dame than for Amity, but you don't want to go to 0-2. I know that the playoff system's a little bit more forgiving now than it used to be, but you don't want to go into an 0-2 hole. So the winner, I don't want to say must win, but it's a really close to the word must victory for either of those teams. Southington, Glastonbury, obviously, we mentioned that, I think, at the top of the show. That's a big one. Glastonbury coming off loss. Southington won. They beat McMahon 35-0, but that was a really young team last year for Southington. Now they're going up against a Glastonbury team that is like one of the big dogs in SEC Division I, them in New Britain with a lot of guys back. So are we going to get the Southington team that we know that they can be in the second year under Coach Levesque? So that one's definitely really interesting to see. And obviously I mentioned New Britain, they get Maloney. And you mentioned it earlier. That was a wild game last year.
Oh, man, yeah.
And they get him again.
The wire.
Yeah, it went down to the wire. And this is, again, new faces in Maloney, New Britain. We didn't really talk about them, but Jaden Allen's back, and he is a really good running back. I think he rushed for 150 and a couple of, 3 TDs in New Britain's win. So that should be another game to really keep an eye out on.
We didn't give the Pequot barely any mention, or actually no mention whatsoever, because, they're the last league that's not playing in the Alliance. I don't know if you guys, you look at the NVL, the Alliance is built to kind of help the teams that play weaker schedules sometimes, maybe get a little better ostensibly. But then you turn around and you're like, it's also there to help the teams that play in tough conferences give a few more losses to the teams they think play easy schedule. So I don't know if you want to do that, Pequot. Look at the NVL. There are half their teams already got, or 10 of their teams already got losses. Some of those double L schools, it's going to be a little harder for them to get in this time, like Kennedy, for example, or maybe.
But you could argue that levels the field for the teams that play tougher schedules.
Yeah,
look, you looked at it last year. No, you looked at it last year when Kennedy got in double L, and you were looking at some of the double L teams that didn't make it, and you're like, I'm pretty sure that team could beat them. I'm pretty sure that team could beat them. And I'm not trying to take away anything from Kennedy. They were the first city school in Waterbury to go to the playoffs, right? Well, I guess Waterbury Career went before, but I don't know, the public, whatever. But they were the first one to go in double L, right? And which was a huge accomplishment. But we saw what happened when they played Fairfield Prep.
Yeah.
So
I would argue those teams need more of those games. If you're going to play, the Alliance does its thing, but it's like there's a little bit of subterfuge there about, join the Alliance, you'll get a competitive game. It's like also help Fairfield Prep make sure they stave off Kennedy. So again, that's the thing. You make it a voluntary thing. Well, you go, and then everyone pressures them. Oh, NVL, you guys gotta get in here, man. It's like it helps the Alliance though. It helps the Anyway.
Well, we're one conference away from joining where you can't even call it the Alliance anymore. You just call it the schedule.
Yeah, right. And then maybe that's what. Yeah.
Is that the end goal? Do we just get rid of conferences? Not that they mean
that
anything.
That is what I would agree with, doing that to a degree. I think you should be playing teams that are you have to win like 8 games. You have divisions of your playoff class. They're all like 23 teams, right? Yeah. Divisions are playoff class. You play some outside games. You have your Thanksgiving rival, and then in between you play your division game. And whoever wins, maybe top 2, instead of a playoff point system. All right. Anyway, what I was getting at quickly was the Pequot. We have not talked about it. One of the big games, I think, this week, North Branford versus Trumbull, Portland. That should be an interesting game on Friday night, 6 p.m. at Cromwell, Portland. Those two teams are big rivals. And, there's some others going on. Like Adam Killingworth had a big opening win versus Capital Prep, which is young. So they're playing at Stafford, which is young. So there's some interesting stuff going on. Pequot, don't worry, guys. We will get to you all. Coggins lost. Ellington, they're at Ellington now, and Ellington had a big win. So anyway, lots to get into the Pequot as we go along. But when the Alliance is playing, guys, unfortunately, we can't really get to you. So that's all the games that we're looking at this week, Pete. That is going to be a podcast for this week as we still as we march down to week 2 in I'm going to be saying week 9 already. My goodness. Yeah. So we're going to week 2. Lots of good stuff, but football's back, baby.
Very excited.
All right. So for Pete Paguaga, who's man a few words, I am Sean Patrick Bowley. This has been the Beat Grinder on GametimeCT.